A group of Chinese nationals has been arrested and now faces accusations of operating a massive money laundering and drug trafficking scheme in the United States. According to the federal complaint, these individuals were smuggled into the country to take part in a highly organized criminal network. Federal prosecutors allege that the defendants were responsible for distributing large-scale quantities of marijuana, marking one of the most significant trafficking cases Boston has seen in years. What makes this case particularly alarming is how seamlessly the operation was embedded into ordinary American communities. Authorities say 7 Chinese nationals have been charged with running a multi-million-dollar underground network of hidden marijuana grow houses spread across Massachusetts and Maine. Unlike the stereotypical large outdoor farms, these sites were suburban homes, ordinary residences, on quiet streets that had been gutted and transformed into secret indoor drug factories designed to produce around-the-clock. Prosecutors explained that the organization was deliberately structured to maximize profits while avoiding suspicion. Entire neighborhoods became unwitting fronts for international crime. Workers were smuggled into the U.S., stripped of their passports and trapped in a cycle of labor until debts were repaid. On the surface, these appeared to be regular family homes. In reality, they were industrial-scale cultivation centers shrouded in intimidation, secrecy, and exploitation. The heart of the investigation pointed to a Chinese-run trafficking syndicate that infiltrated multiple towns across Massachusetts, including Braintree, Melrose, and Greenfield. The group's mission was simple but ruthless: produce kilogram after kilogram of marijuana and funnel it into the black market across the Northeast, where steady demand promised continuous profit. But the drugs themselves were only half the story. Prosecutors revealed that the profits were funneled through an elaborate laundering system disguised as legitimate wealth. Cash from the sales was converted into luxury jewelry, high-end vehicles, and even real estate investments, making dirty money appear clean on paper. The model was engineered for long-term survival: exploit cheap labor, hide production inside homes, secure a reliable market for marijuana, and recycle profits into assets that appeared legitimate. Federal investigators stressed that this was not just a local marijuana operation. Instead, it was a key piece of a larger international network with financial pipelines leading back to China. Suburban neighborhoods were used as camouflage, the houses as hidden factories, and the black market as an endless well of profit. The timeline of the investigation showed just how long the organization was able to thrive in plain sight. Authorities believe the operation began around 2020 and continued for nearly 4 years, lasting until late 2024 before being dismantled. Over that time, agents monitored unusual financial transactions, intercepted shipments, and gradually mapped the group's structure. By meticulously following the money trail, they connected the dots between houses, operators, and financial flows, eventually exposing the conspiracy in its entirety. The decisive blow came in October 2024. In a series of coordinated raids, federal agents stormed multiple homes at once. Inside, they uncovered exactly what they had been tracking for years: hundreds of marijuana plants growing in specialized, climate-controlled rooms, safes crammed with passports belonging to smuggled workers, and an array of luxury items purchased with illicit profits. The raids revealed the true magnitude of the operation. What had seemed like isolated homes turned out to be interlinked pieces of a sprawling criminal puzzle. This was not just a random bust, but the culmination of years of investigation into a network that had quietly thrived inside American suburbs. When the raids were carried out, it became clear that this was not a small-scale sweep, but the dismantling of a deeply entrenched organization. 6 of the suspects were captured in early morning takedowns, while 1 remains at large and is now the subject of an ongoing federal manhunt. Officials emphasized that the individuals arrested were not minor players. Each was an essential component of the larger system, operating grow houses, managing workers, or moving cash. The charges filed against them are sweeping: conspiracy to distribute drugs, large-scale money laundering, and smuggling foreign nationals for labor exploitation. Authorities described the case as cutting away vital links in an expansive criminal chain. By removing these individuals, law enforcement dealt a significant blow to the syndicate's ability to continue operations. Yet beyond the marijuana and money, investigators underscored the human toll at the center of the case. Chinese nationals were smuggled into the United States, stripped of their passports, and forced to work under coercive conditions in the grow houses. With no documents and no way to escape, they were locked in a system of debt bondage that tied them to endless cycles of labor. Some lived in the very houses where the drugs were grown, confined to secrecy and silence. For seasoned federal agents, this was one of the most disturbing revelations of all. The bust exposed not only a profitable criminal enterprise, but also a hidden system of human exploitation running inside unsuspecting neighborhoods. Communities that appeared safe and ordinary had, in reality, been harboring both a high-tech drug production system and a workforce of trafficked individuals robbed of their freedom. By the time the hammer fell in October 2024, the illusion of normalcy had been shattered. What law enforcement uncovered was not just a marijuana operation, but a well-oiled international business, one that converted drugs into profit into assets, and human beings into expendable labor. The arrests marked the fall of a major organized network that had quietly taken root inside American life, showing just how far international crime can infiltrate before anyone even realizes it is there. The evidence uncovered during the raids painted a vivid picture of just how vast the profits and product had become. In a house in Braintree, agents found a safe stuffed with $270,000 in cash, along with several Chinese passports, a stark sign of both the laundering scheme and the coercion of smuggled workers. In Melrose, another search revealed 50 kilograms of processed marijuana packaged and ready for sale, nearly $200,000 in bundled cash, and a $65,000 Rolex watch still pristine in its box. Across Massachusetts and Maine, similar discoveries added up to staggering totals: over 100 kilograms of marijuana seized, enough to saturate local black markets and push supply far beyond state borders. These numbers confirmed what prosecutors had long argued. This was not casual cultivation or side hustles. It was a large-scale industrial-style network designed for relentless output and uninterrupted distribution. Each kilogram confiscated served as a reminder of how much more had already been sold and how much further the pipeline was meant to run. The financial side of the case exposed an equally advanced operation. Investigators believe the organization's profits reached well into the millions, laundered through sophisticated channels to keep the money hidden in plain sight. Bundles of cash were stashed inside car engines to avoid detection. Bulk shipments were funneled through New York contacts before being converted into homes, luxury cars, and fine jewelry, all carefully chosen to disguise criminal revenue as legitimate wealth. Even routine encounters hinted at the network's brazenness. In 2023, during a routine traffic stop, suspects were found with $36,900 stuffed inside a vehicle, and one was even wearing a shirt that boldly read, "Money," a mocking display of arrogance, as if convinced their crimes were untouchable. Federal agents said the case underscored not just the drug supply chain, but also how criminal networks weave illicit profits into the financial fabric of ordinary communities. Officials made it clear, this was far more than a marijuana bust. It was the exposure of how global syndicates operate in U.S. neighborhoods, camouflaged by suburban normalcy while quietly amassing wealth through exploitation and deception. Law enforcement stressed the broader danger. The threat lay not only in the drugs themselves, but in the sophistication of the system. These groups knew how to conceal their presence, mask their finances, and blend into communities without drawing suspicion. By dismantling the Boston operation, authorities wanted to prove that hidden empires can be rooted out. But they also warned that where one falls, another often rises in its place. The investigation revealed why detection had been so challenging. Agents uncovered detailed contact lists along the East Coast, mapping cultivators, distributors, and international connections that stretched all the way back to China. Each grow house was staged to look unremarkable from the street. Blinds drawn, lawns neatly trimmed, nothing to alert passing neighbors. But inside, the houses had been gutted and rebuilt into state-of-the-art cultivation facilities. Specialized lighting, irrigation, and electrical systems kept marijuana growing on uninterrupted cycles. Cash was shuffled between safe houses, workers rotated frequently, and profits buried under layers of false legitimacy. Every property had its purpose, whether it was cultivation, storage, or laundering, and each one supported the larger enterprise. Investigators described it as a well-oiled business, not a sloppy underground operation. Neighbors, unaware of what was happening behind closed doors, often never suspected they were living next to criminal hubs. That, authorities said, was what made the discovery so unsettling. Organized crime had embedded itself invisibly in the heart of suburban America. The Boston raids concluded with both triumph and sobering lessons. 7 suspects charged, 6 already in custody, 1 still being hunted, millions of dollars in profits identified, hundreds of kilograms of marijuana seized, luxury items recovered, hidden cash discovered, and an entire labor system of smuggled workers exposed. On paper, it was a major win for law enforcement, proof that years of patient investigation can pay off with decisive results. But federal officials cautioned against complacency. Organized crime is adaptive, resourceful, and relentless. These groups will seek out new houses, new neighborhoods, new smuggling routes, and new financial tricks. For communities, the message is clear. Organized crime doesn't always appear as heavily armed compounds or cartel strongholds. Sometimes it looks like the house across the street, with blinds drawn and a trimmed lawn hiding a criminal empire. The Boston case made that reality unmistakable. Global crime can root itself anywhere, transforming ordinary streets into hidden battlegrounds of exploitation. For law enforcement, the work continues. For the public, the lesson is stark. Vigilance is essential because these hidden empires thrive on silence, and unless uncovered, they will continue to grow, concealed behind the very walls of America's neighborhoods.